You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna on Guerrilla Media Network. Here we go, guys. This is the second hour, Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna on K-Talks 1340 AM on Guerrilla Media Network. And don't forget to go also on www.lovegunsfreedom.com. Second hour about training. As you know, I started this new website that as a professional student that I am, I've tried to share my humble opinion, pretty much my training, my experience about different things when it comes down to handgun training. But when we need a pro, somebody that does this really for a living, not like me as a professional student, I have the right guy. Jim Liesen, are you there?
I'm here. Luca, thank you for having me. How are you doing today?
Perfect. I don't know if you've seen, I got this new website going on. It's handguntraining.tv. I share free blogs and training experience. Pretty much mostly is from the curriculum that I learned at Frontsite. And since I know that you also have your school and you also you teach at Frontsite, I always think it would be the best thing to share these concepts with somebody like yourself that's much more experienced. Now, first of all, how's it going, your overpriced Colt that you won at the auction probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part. You just said something about an option?
Yeah, how's it going, your beautiful overpriced Colt 1911 that you won at the auction? How's it going with that?
It is a beautiful 1911. I have put it through its paces. It is officially my favorite sidearm. It is wonderful. I can't wait to let you shoot it.
Perfect. Remind me, what is the model? What is the brand? If you can remind us, please.
Yeah, it's not necessary.
Not necessary. Okay. Anyway, pretty much.
Let's just say it starts with W and ends with combat.
Okay, so it's something W-N combat. Anyway, I think pretty much everybody can understand what is that, and no problem. 1911. It's a great gun. I'm glad that you're enjoying it. Now, today's show. We will talk a little bit after you leave about news. Now I wanted to go straight to basic business. I'm trying to bring in every show some basic training idea. Could be some practical training and also some conceptual mindset and training about the generic art of marksmanship and combat handgun for defensive purposes. Today's topic is exactly the combat mindset. I wrote a little bit of my own, version of what I learned in my different several classes at Frontsite, but I thought it would be nice if you can give us some pretty much your opinion, your professional opinion. What is the combat mindset and why so important?
Well, it's an excellent topic for training, Luca, because you're right. We can really concentrate on all kinds of fundamentals like how to press the trigger instead of yank on it, and how to align your sights instead of ignoring it and looking at the target. And all of these fundamental shooting techniques are vital to get good shots downrange quickly. And and we all talk about that because those are the things we can practice with. But without the combat mindset, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
In fact, it was Colonel Cooper that he and the Marines, they all developed the color codes of awareness, and we've probably talked about that before.
Yes.
You have white, yellow, orange, red, and even black. But if you're not prepared to go from the combat color mindset of orange to the action combat of red, then you're not prepared. And in fact, it's just like practicing a batting swing or a golf swing. If you can practice it in your mind all you want, but you're not willing to swing that bat when the time comes with everything you've got, it isn't going to count. So the combat mindset is vital, and we can talk about what that means or how we derive that. But that's a terrific topic for today.
Yeah, for me, if I had to go leave, let's say all the classes I attended at Frontsite, all the things they taught me and I'm trying to learn, if I had to bring with me one thing only, okay? And among all the other things, of course, everything is important. You need to hit the target, of course. But the most vital thing, I think, is exactly the combat mindset. Because at this point, I don't care if I have a handgun, if I have a pencil, or if I have a 2x4. This is pretty much, I am the weapon, and my mind is pretty much the real weapon. The gun is just an extension of what I can use to defend myself or an innocent. So let's put it in this way. First of all, how can we define this combat mindset, if you want to define it in a few words?
Well, I believe the combat mindset is the willingness to, at the drop of one heartbeat, go from normal person
Yes.
to bringing out the beast.
Yes. And
The beast has to come out as though I'm editing my book right now, and it has to do with the gazelle versus the lion.
yes.
Have you ever seen those shows about nature where the gazelle has to run for his life or fight like crazy?
Yes.
They don't take off just nonchalantly, do they? They take off right now like their life depends on it, because it does. And even if you have to run away from a fight, you have to use the combat mindset. Every single moment is as though your life depends on it, and you have to be able to go 100% right now with everything you've got.
Exactly. I remember the movie from John Wayne. It was The Shootist, 1976. And that was before even I got really into guns training. There was the phrase in this movie. John Wayne was kind of already old. I think it's one of the oldest movie. I mean, the last movie that he did. And the phrase was pretty much very important. And for me, it really summed up the concept of combat mindset. John Wayne says, I found most men are not willing. They bat an eye or draw a breath before they shoot. I will not. That's the bottom line. No matter if you're older or if you are not the faster, by the end of the day, you will not flinch when you have to do what you have to do. And
that's right.
So that's the point. So anyway, we go pretty much, we were talking last time, and I'll talk myself last show, that we go from condition orange to condition, from red to black. And at that point, there is a point of no return. At that point, we got to kick in with this combat mindset. Now, since we're talking about handgun, what is the most important thing pretty much you're going to do? Focus on something. What are we going to focus on?
Front sight.
Perfect. Why?
Because that's the best way to get good shots downrange as accurately as possible.
Exactly. Because after all, under stress, we may tend to focus on the target or on the enemy or adversary. And pretty much we think that just looking at him or her or whatever it is, we're going to hit the target. But that's not exactly the way it works. So if we have to do one thing, only focusing on the front sight is very important. Now, another important thing, when we say, criminals really don't really play fair, okay? So I don't think we should play fair either. I know that for many of us, it's kind of hard to think, to do very bad things to others because we are good people and we do not want to harm unless we really have to. But even when we decide we want to harm for self-defense, it's kind of difficult to go into that mindset. If we can say that when we go into this combat mindset, we have to do anything goes. That means anything we can do to win this fight. Are we okay with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, it was Colonel Cooper again that basically said, if you find yourself in a fair fight, it's because your tactics are terrible. Let's not forget, the lion or the wolf in our society is not a social, fair person.
Yes.
He is an animal who lives to win.
Yes.
He's not interested in a refereed fight, which is a sport with rules. He's interested in winning. He sits by, just like the lion in the field, they sit under the tree and they wait to pick the right gazelle to eat.
Yes.
What they want to do is pick the one that's easy, the one that's an easy fix for them so they don't get hurt, or in people parlance, so they don't have to go back to jail. So they may wait for days or weeks to pick the right person. So our combat mindset has to be, to begin with, to be able to find and see that wolf or that lion before it becomes a problem. Our part of my combat mindset is walking around in condition yellow and being prepared for orange and red.
Yes.
So that our time differential is quicker. Because if there comes a time where the lion jumps out and tries to eat us little sheep or gazelles, we need to be able to move into an action state as quickly as possible. Like Cooper said, if you find yourself in a fair fight, it's because your tactics are terrible. Your tactics have to be to win, and when you're dealing with something that's antisocial and out to fight to win, there are no rules.
Yes.
The only rule is to live.
Exactly.
Or to escape.
And this is not a video game, guys. I mean, you need to visualize something real, okay? If you're on the ground and they can kill you, they will kill you. And they will not say, okay, stop a second, let's start again, or reset bottom. No. Your family counts on you. It's counting on you. Your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your daughters, whatever. This is pretty much black and white. So you got to really start, in my mind, first of all, visualize all this before even you start to shoot. I mean, At home, you can start to visualize scenarios. What would I do? Am I able to do whatever it takes to win this fight? And when I go into that mode, we're talking about the condition black, that pretty much there is no more negotiation, there is no more debates. It's pretty much your training is able to pretty much catch up with your instinct to survive. That's why I think it's a combination of both. There is, of course, a good part is mindset, also training that goes in that situation of unconsciously competent that we were talking in the past. Pretty much we're able to do everything without thinking anymore and doing right. For example, people say sometimes, hey, after all, I'm not a great shot now, but when the situation happens, don't worry, I will raise to the occasion. So in my group now it already sucks. I'm going to get probably, I don't know, 20 inches group at 5 yards. You think under stress you're going to get better? Tell us about the rule of 50%. I'm sure you're very aware of it.
Well, as you know, the 50% rule means that the best day, your worst day of training will never be anywhere near as good as your best day in combat.
Mm-hmm.
And what that really means is that when we train on the range, we like to consider that everything is going to grow. That's going to double in size. So if we've got a hand-span-sized group of holes in our target, and we're trying to balance our accuracy versus our speed, and if you're shooting a very fat group, bigger than your hand, somebody might come up and very politely say, wow, Luca, you're shooting great, but you might want to slow down a little bit and get those groups a little smaller. And likewise, if you're shooting the size of a dime, somebody might come up and say, wow, Luca, you're shooting great, but you can go a little faster. The idea here is that we want to have and develop the combat mindset speed to match your physical rhythm to get good shots downrange, because in the middle of the night when you're attacked, you won't have the luxury of having instructors nearby, a controlled range, a nice target standing square to you with light, who's not shooting back at you, all those luxuries that you do not have in an actual fight. So what's going to happen, of course, is your groups will be sloppy and terrible.
Yes.
But if you can train to get them as good as possible, then when they go to terrible, you'll still have more shots on target, because your terrible won't be as terrible as if you never practice and train.
And also, let's not forget the chemicals, a reaction happening in our body. I mean, normally during the target shooting or whatever at the range, we're pretty relaxed. In the real life situation, forget about gunfight, even just you getting close to some sort of a confrontational situation, we all well know how the adrenaline can start to take part or control of our body. So we need to be able to control that. And, without getting too many details, if people can train in an under stress situation, let's say you want to do some push-ups or do some other exercises before you start to shoot, try to figure it out how it's going to happen for you, because you're not going to be relaxed, when really things happen, real life things happen.
Well, that's a really good point, Luca, because there's two sides to the combat mindset, and I think you're focusing on the physical and the physical training part, and I think that's vital. And you're right, doing jumping jacks or running to the car and back, and then trying to shoot, or soaking your hands in cold water so you have caveman hands that don't work very well when you try to operate the gun. Those are vital. But I'd like to propose that we start thinking about the mental side of the mindset. And that is this. When I have students, they come to me for a concealed carry class. Sometimes they really don't even understand the point of concealed carry, or what would happen if they actually had to draw their weapon. They've never really considered, A, what would it take to make you pull your gun out? And B, what would it take to make you shoot something?
Yes.
Because if you don't have a handle, or if you haven't even had the mental discussion with yourself, what would it take to make me say, that just crossed the line, I have to step into action with 100% certainty? And if you've not had that discussion, you will not be in condition red, working and being in action. You'll be stuck in condition black, going, and won't have a clue what to do.
Yes.
So it's really, really important to play this game we like to call the what-if game. You walk around the street and you say, wow, what would happen if somebody jumped out from behind that dumpster right this moment? What would I do? What would my tactics be? At what point would I feel so threatened that if I didn't do something right now, I feel like I might die? What would it take to make me step into full action?
Exactly. When is exactly that line in the sand that you're going to drag? I mean, you want to pretty much be ready for that. When they're going to cross the line in the sand, you will be able pretty much to decide. And that's why it's very important, visualization, because otherwise we are not prepared. If we are thinking, and it is very important, this is not like a paranoid game. This is real life. Since we carry a gun and we have this opportunity and also this responsibility, we should start to think really. That's pretty much. Go ahead, please.
Well, I was going to add on to that. You're absolutely right. And here's the thing: this question and the answer is different for everyone, and it's different all the time. For example, I have a niece. Her name is Delaney. She's about 105 pounds, 5'2", dripping wet. Real cute girl. She's about 23 years old. Mm-hmm. For her, she has no combat experience, no front sight training, very little training with the training I've given her, but she's not a martial artist. Mm-hmm. What would her line in the sand be compared to, say, yours or mine, someone who's spent time thinking about this, had time to take training? And likewise, what if you and I were 20 or 30 years down the road?
Yes.
We wouldn't be physically capable of doing the things we can do now,
exactly,
much less the things we could do when we're 21. So these things change over time, and even the time of day. It's hard to say the line in the sand is finite, but we have to exercise this on a regular basis, and here's why. And you just nailed it right on the head when you said paranoid. If we walk around the world asking ourselves, what if this, what if that, we'll start to develop common sense answers that will change our behavior out on the street. Mm-hmm. And we won't be actively paranoid. We'll just be walking around safer. Now, let me give you an example. Let's say, for example, you start learning to walk down the street and you start saying, I'm not going to walk this close to the wall anymore because when I come to the corner of the building, the bad guy might grab me and mug me. Mm-hmm. So you're going to instinctively start to walk out in the middle of the sidewalk where you've got more distance and more time to save yourself, or the bad guy would just choose someone else. Instead of actively thinking of walking in the middle of the sidewalk from now on, after a while, you're just going to start walking that way naturally.
Yes.
And you're going to start walking with your head up naturally without thinking about it. And when you walk out a door, you're going to start looking left and right. So you're already going to be practicing avoidance techniques that the bad guys don't want to mess with. Yes. Because you're sending the vibe of being an active participant and being actively aware.
We're in condition yellow, so we pretty much give them...
And you're demonstrating that.
Yes.
As you do this, you start to do it without thought. And you become consciously aware of being competent.
Yes, and just to let you know, guys, you're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna. Special guest is Jim Liesen from Lake Havasu. Jim, you have a website, you have a school in Havasu. Give us briefly the information, please.
I do. Thank you, Luca. And I treat all of Western Arizona the same. If you need me to come up there, I'll be glad to. But I'm based here in Lake Havasu City, Arizona, and you can find me at apexarmsaz.com. Mm-hmm. You can find me on Facebook or the web, and please feel free to call anytime if you have any questions. Perfect.
And if we can sum it up, we want to avoid a fight whenever we can. But if we are forced into a fight and your life or the life of the loved ones are in danger, we will be the one to end that fight. We didn't start it, but we will end it, no matter what, whatever it takes. Jim, thank you very much. Keep us posted. And by the way, you've written a book. Now, tell me a little bit about the book. Hopefully, you can come and present the book when it's done here. What is the name of the book?
I can't wait. I'd love to.
Tell me.
I'm trying to settle on a title right now, and I'm not exactly sure what it's going to be called, but I think it's going to be called Things I Learned on the Savannah, How Not to Be That Gazelle Today.
That's good. I like that.
And what it is primarily is all the things your concealed carry instructor needs to tell you and teach you, but didn't have time in that little class you took.
Good job. I would like to have a copy, and of course, we can talk when he's ready on the show. I appreciate that, okay?
Sounds great.
Thank you. Keep us posted. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. And this was Jim Liesen and a little bit of music, and we come back with some Second Amendment news. Don't go away. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom. Ciao.
Country. He's a songwriter, a poet, a rifleman.
I'm not afraid.
And a constitutional activist.
I'm not afraid.
Italian by birth.
I'm not afraid.
American by choice. Luca Zanna.
I'm not afraid.
And his new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom. 16 powerful songs on one CD from the heart of a patriot. For download or to order the CD, go to www.lovegunsfreedom.com. That's www.lovegunsfreedom.com. Lyrics for your mind, music for your heart. Luca Zanna's new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom.
Here we are. We're back. This is Luca Zanna. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom. Second hour, it's all about guns. And that was the song called Live Free or Die from the CD Wake Up America that I produced and wrote exactly in 2005. I produced that CD as some sort of a commemoration, honoring my naturalization of citizenship. When I became a naturalized American, I produced the CD. Incredible CD. There are like probably 21 tracks, and that's one of the tracks. You can find that CD on Amazon, on iTunes, pretty much everywhere on the internet. Just put Wake Up America, Luca Zanna, and but the best way to get is from my website, www.zanna.us, zanna.us. You can also download the song individually, Live Free or Die, for just 99 cents. As I said many times, you know, why I tell you this? Because this is a show pretty much that it's about free market, okay? We're here, I'm here because of your help. It's called offering, exchanging services. You know, try to give you information, try to give you everything I can, and in change, you know, of course, this is a cost. This also as a part of life. You know, I'm not afraid to say, you know, everything costs. When you go to the shop, you buy a sandwich, they're not gonna give it to you for free. And the beautiful thing, this show, it's free. You can get it, you can enjoy it. At the same time, you can also support it. And differently from other type of broadcasting, like national NPR, you know, national propaganda radio, that pretty much uses the government extortion, the force of the government to extort your money through the tax dollar. They get billions of dollars every year. This show is pretty much free, and it's free because it's you. You can support it. All you have to do is just download a song, get a song, or support our sponsors, of course. Now, back to business. This is the second hour. We had an incredible information with Jim Liesen. I really enjoy his conversation. You know, we talk about tactics, and also this is part of what we were talking before. It's part of my new coming handbook. It's called Defensive Handgun. And as I said many times, I am just an humble professional student, okay? I don't do for living. I like teaching to others because I have other things to do. Even, of course, I could do probably courses to qualify to become an instructor. I think I have the type of knowledge, but the point is my job is to share my information as an act of love. As a professional student, I commit myself to try always to learn new things and share them with you. Now, this is about news now. This hour that we have, the final part of the hour, it's about news. We've been fighting, we've been winning, sometimes we've been losing, but the point that we always stand up. We never give up. Now, there is some hope on some issue. Let's start with the good news. For example, there is a new bill, this is directly from the Senate, US Senate, that could make gun permits like driver licenses. What do you think about that? I think it's very reasonable. It is, first of all, it's a right. It is not about being reasonable, but I think like if you can have a driver license from Arizona and you can drive in California, I should have a gun permit in Arizona and I should be able to carry my gun anywhere in the 50 states, okay? That's pretty much common sense. Anyway, so this is Senator John Cornyn, a Republican from Texas, introduced a bill last week that would essentially allow gun owners to carry concealed weapons around the country. Hallelujah, okay? Seriously, I can't wait. And not because I want to go to other states, honestly. Before I really go to California, I need to take probably a couple of Valium pills. But if I have to go, at least I don't feel like a complete disarmed sheep. Okay? Anyway, called the Constitutional Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act of 2015, The proposed law would treat state-issue concealed carry permits like driver license. As simple as that. I think this is really good. For example, if you can legally drive in New York, that I would never go anyway, even if you pay me, you can also legally drive in California. Even there, I try to go less is possible. Under the same logic, Cornyn bill would allow people with concealed carry permits granted in one state to keep their guns handy in other states that also let people carry concealed weapons. And that says, it says this is perfectly reasonable, except for the part about gun permits being anything whatsoever like driver license, as a New York Times columnist, Gail Collins, points out. But what do you expect from a New York Times columnist? Okay, it probably, best case scenario is just completely ignorant and is partisan, is biased, and he wants to believe that the gun, the Second Amendment is not the right. So I can have pretty much the right to drive, but I don't have the Second Amendment because you say so. Different states, however, have a different standards for concealed carry permits, okay? For example, all a concealed carry permits requires in Mississippi is the ability to fill out an application. I understand Virginia offers online courses and Florida grants concealed carry permits to people who have never actually lived there. Okay, well, let's make it simple then. Let's get some sort of, if you really want, honestly, I don't even like the permit because a right should not be granted by the government. It's a right. So that's why, like Arizona, I have a constitutional carry. I don't need to ask any permit, even though I decided by my choice to have a concealed carry permit because it gives you some extra advantages, okay? And we can talk about this next time. And there are some states that reciprocates, okay? Reciprocate the permit. But the point is, yes, if you want to do a permit, let's make it some sort of a standard that pretty much would be for the 50 states. I can understand that. At the same time, I also believe that everybody is responsible for their own actions, okay? And we should never be collectively found guilty or anything. So I understand some states have stricter degrees of training for this permit, some less. That's true. That's a fact. Now, the point is still this is a right. Okay, this is a right. Like I have the right of free speech. And by the way, people say, oh, but free speech. Yeah, free speech is a right too, of course. And it's the same level for me, like the First Amendment is not as better or worse than the Second Amendment, okay? So what we're going to do, people say about free speech, people do not die. Yes, people can die of free speech. People saying bad things about other people, they can be so sensitive, other people, they can pretty much, like there's bullies or whatever, Yeah, you can use the First Amendment also in a very bad way and people can get hurt. It's a different type of hurting, of course. So we want to put a permit also on the First Amendment. Would you like to do some tests? The point is, yes, maybe we should find a form that is a little bit standard to every state without getting crazy in any direction, have a basic standard, and we should be able to go on all 50 states. In my opinion, if you want to really know what I think about it, the only concealed permit that a law-abiding citizen needs, woman or man, doesn't matter, regardless color, gender, religion, we are all Americans. And when you're a law-abiding American, that's all it matters. The only permit that we need is called the Second Amendment. So that's pretty much the story. For me, that would keep everything simple. We don't need a permit. Like our founding fathers did not need a permit to go from Virginia to New York or to any states of the 13 colonies at the time, okay? It's called to be a free human being. But, now that's where we live, and we need to take it one step at a time back, since pretty much it's been hard. We let it go for so long, it's time to take it back. Anyway, so this was a good news. Hopefully it's going to go through the Senate. Hopefully that puppet of the New World Order called also Mr. Obama is not going to play games that normally he does. But we'll see. Maybe we have enough numbers to try to pretty much overrun that bastard in the White House, okay? So that's pretty much number one. Now, let's go with some other news because there is a lot of things going on. First of all, another good news, okay? Because we need to get happy about when we have good news. Oh, there is a district judge that just a few days ago ruled that federal interstate handgun sales ban are unconstitutional. Great. Now, what does it mean? Let me explain. First of all, this news is from Breitbart News. It's a good website. I enjoy it a lot. Breitbart News previously reported that this ban was implemented after Congress passed Gun Control Act of 1968. And by the way, if you go to look at the Gun Control Act 1968, the Jewish for Preservation of Firearms, by the way, I'm a supporter, I like the organization, they exposed that the senator that pretty much was behind this bill, Senator Dodd, okay, the scumbag father of Dodd Jr., that he just retired, I guess, a few years ago, he pretty much copied all this Gun Control Act of 1968. And this is a typical form that normally you see when you go to fill up an application at your FFL dealer, you know, with the race and all the different information, you know, very racist, by the way. You need to put your race and all the other information. Anyway, that was a copy of the gun control bill from Hitler. Think about it. There is a copy, the receipt of the Library of Congress, where the senator went there and pretty much got a part of the complete book from Hitler, Gun Control Act. And if you see word by word, there is a book also that Jewish for Preservation of Firearms put together, where it exposes factually that this bill from 1968 is pretty much a copy of a Nazi bill under Adolf Hitler. Very good, Senator Dodd. I hope you rot in hell wherever you are. Anyway, let's go back. This bill that was signed into law by Lyndon Baines Johnson, another scumbag, just to let you know, I'm sure you're familiar with him, the liar for the Vietnam War, in the fall of 1968. The interstate sales ban bars a law-abiding resident in one state from buying a handgun from a retail gun store in another one, but allows interstate shotgun, rifle, and tactical rifles sales to continue. So you cannot buy pretty much any handgun. If you live, let's say you live in the state of Arizona, you want to buy a handgun in the state of New Mexico, you can't. You must be a resident of the state. But of course, the shop or the owner of the handgun in that state, let's say New Mexico, can send to Arizona, to your FFL dealer, this gun. That was pretty much unconstitutional. Great. According to the Firearms Policy Coalition, the ruling was the result of Frederick Russell Mance at Eric Holder, Beto Jones, which was backed by the Citizen Committee of the Right to Keep and Bear Arms. Anyway, Judge Connor ruled that the ban on interstate handgun sales violate the Second Amendment and the Fifth Amendment's due process clause. The provision of the ban are therefore unconstitutional, and the defendants are enjoined from enforcing them. Great. So let's see. Eric Holder, now he can go really to, I can say this on the radio, he can go to have take a hike, okay? Because he was behind and he lost. So anyway, guys, this is a good news, and we must be happy because, you know, this is a struggle. We didn't lose our freedom overnight. It took time. It took time and years. We've been silently, you know, falling asleep and boiling slowly. Guess what? It's time to take it back. It's going to take a little time, but we're going to take it back. Now, let's go back to some news. This time, they're not really good news. These are pretty much bad news because it's so bad, in my opinion, that shows how much arrogance. Now, not just people like Obama, they think that they're the new kings. They can pretty much rewrite laws when they're supposed not even write laws because they're supposed just to enforce them. But now we have bureaucrats, low-level bureaucrats like the ATF or BATFE. Pretty much they think they are little gods, our little lords. No. So the BATFE to ban common AR-15 ammo. Okay, everybody knows the AR-15. You know, normally shoots 223 or 556, pretty much almost the same. By the way, it's a very underpowered, you know, cartridge, in my opinion. Normally you got 55 or 62 grains. Yeah, it's okay on flash. You know, if you get a good hit, people die, don't get me wrong, okay? But it is not really what you call stopping, you know, manpower stopping cartridge, okay? You cannot even legally hunt with a 62 grain 223 some games. You cannot even hunt a big game. It's good for coyotes, but not really for any other animals. Anyway, but regardless, don't get me wrong, it's a good gun, especially if you're trained, especially for, if you are like a woman, or even if you are, don't want to have too much recoil. Great, we should have all guns. But now, these bastards at the ATF, pretty much they want to ban, just because they think they can do so without Congress, without any type of legislation, these M855 ball ammunition that is pretty much called armor-piercing ammunition. Now, how does it work? First of all, this M855 ammunition is supposed to be the green tip. First of all, I don't care if it's really armor-piercing. Let's be honest here, okay? Why you think the Second Amendment was created? It wasn't created to just for... Honestly, it was never created for hunting. Hunting is already there. It's a right for you to survive. Even I'm not a hunter, but if I have to hunt, I will hunt. It's something that is there. But the Second Amendment wasn't about sport purposes. Forget about it. The Second Amendment was for a law-abiding citizen, for men and women of Americans, we the people, that pretty much we are the final line of defense against enemies, foreign and domestic. In case there is an invasion, in case there is any type of tyrannical act to overthrow our republic. Don't get me wrong. I'm not here trying to say we have to, be the revolutionary. We are the counter-revolutionary. We want to protect this republic. We want to defend our Bill of Rights. And as a community, it's an individual right. At the same time, it's also a collective right. The moment that we get united as we the people, we must have the same power, at least the same firepower of the government. Why? Because what if the government, it gets infiltrated and it gets manipulated and it gets used against we the people? Yes, that's why the Second Amendment was there. I mean, and this is coming from guys, from a person like myself. I was even born here, from my accent, about myself. I was born in Rome and I became an American just in 2005. But it doesn't take too much. Even a Geico, even a man like myself coming from another country can read history, can read the Founding Fathers document and read the Bill of Rights and read the Constitution and understand. The Second Amendment, you read in all the different type of letters from all our founding fathers, was never about sporting purposes. It was about to defend us against the tyrannical government in case we had one. So why they are so concerned, this ATF, to deny us the access to these very common rounds, okay? By the way, this green tip, that yes, there is some sort of a steel core in the bullet, but honestly, this is not even really what you consider really steel penetrator. Okay, the steel penetrator stuff normally is just available to the military, by the way. Anyway, so seems like pretty much this is happening. They don't need any type of approval from Congress. They are doing it. Now, pretty much says that the ATF will grant the sporting purposes exception to only two categories of projectiles. Category 1, 22 caliber projectiles, and Category 2, all other caliber projectiles. Anyway, there is an article, you can read it. It is on, I will put it on lovegunsfreedom.com, today's show, and I think it's something that February 22nd you can read. I invite you to read it. It's from NRA-ILA. It's Institute for Legislative Action, okay? So the bottom line, they're trying to do that. Now, my question is, if they think they pretty much can ban a 223, 556, just because they say it can go through armor piercing, okay? Let's say the old bulletproof jackets, like the soft body armors, okay? That's their logic. Why not they can also pretty soon outlaw 308? I got news for you. If I get a 762 by 51 regular copper jacket, regular stuff, normally I buy for my M14, I like to shoot, for example, the brown bear, the Russian stuff. Any type of 308, doesn't matter. Guess what? It has much more penetration than a stupid underpower 556 or 223 green tip. I can go through with a 308 half-inch steel at 200 yards. Regular copper bullet. Now, people say, oh, we must be, reasonable. After all, this 223 green tip, the ATF want to stop. They're dangerous. They can go through the bulletproof jackets. Guess what? Even a 308 can go through a bulletproof jacket. Even a 306. Why don't we ban them all? Seriously. I mean, don't you see that what type of opening they're doing? And by the way, who are these ATF? Besides that, they are the biggest, most, let's say, opinionated. Let's say that, I don't want to use bad words, but let's put it this way. They are so corrupted. Let's not forget what happened with Fast and Furious, the corruption that is behind. This is the most unconstitutional agency, one of the most unconstitutional agency, three letters agency that we have. So they think now they are new Congress. I would even be happy if Congress start to pass laws like that. But at least it's Congress. We elected Congress. We never elected any ATF. These are bureaucrats, power-monger bureaucrats that pretty much laugh at us. As I said, if you give them their power, then now just because they think they are God, they can ban a 223 just because in their mind can go through a soft armor, body armor. Guess what? The same logic. 1 month from now, they should be back and say, by the way, let's ban also your hunting around 3006 or the 308 or 7.62 by 54. Yes. I mean, seriously, this is the logic. This is so important, so important, so important. Anyway, so this is pretty much the news. Now, what should you do? First of all, start to think about it. Don't be ignoring the situation. Then I believe you really should go to any organization you want. This point, if it is NRA, if you like that, like Guns Owners of America, or if you live in Arizona, there is the Arizona Citizen Defense League. Join any organization, and more important, start to contact your congressman. I know many times we do that. It's just a waste. You think, oh, this guy doesn't really care. It's true, probably it's true. But guess what? You still have the duty to speak up your mind and to be a pain in the butt, okay? Respectfully, but be a pain in the butt. If you don't talk to your congressman, tell him to do something, there is really nothing that you should say to yourself. At least you should try to do your part, and then you must do his part. Then there is, of course, this sort of opening where people can contact the NRA, the ATF. I think it's kind of almost an insult to us. Why should we talk to the ATF? They are not even elected, okay? But whatever, let's put it in this way. Yes, go through the link and write them a letter. Let them know what you think, okay? Because I tell you, for me, they have no rights even to exist, this agency, okay? But that's another story. Now, a little bit of music. I want to share with you another song, and then we finalize with some other news because we are preparing for the final hour. That is going to be about love and also about some different type of, I like to put the show, bring the show not just in the studio, but I like to bring it out there because it's some sort of a living show. We talk about guns, we talk about love, and we talk about freedom. And what better freedom than jogging in Mojave County on the road with your handgun while recording the show. That's what's going to be the last part. So it's going to be a little bit of jogging after we have this single. Today we have a single man from Topok, Arizona. Is a freedom-loving single that is looking for a special lady. At the same time, after that one, I will go with a little bit of training in a different way. It's going to be about jogging and jogging in the desert. Not really in the desert, but in Golden Valley on the road while I'm doing my show, recording while I'm jogging. And I'm jogging, of course, I always jog at least with my handgun. I never stay with my handgun. So don't go away. Little bit of music and talk to you soon.
If you love wealth better than liberty, the tranquility of servitude than the animated contest of freedom, go from us in peace. We ask not your counsels or arms. Crouch down and lick the hands which feed you. May your chains sit lightly upon you, and may posterity forget that you were our countrymen. The line in the sand, you know the time is coming. The line in the sand, are you going to watch while we're fighting? The line line in the sand. Just tell me now where you're going to stand. How much more you gonna take it? How much more you gonna fake it? Now you decide what you'll do when they come. They'll come for you. See with just a few seconds before midnight.
That was The Line in the Sand, one of my favorite songs from the latest CD, Love, Guns and Freedom, by myself, Luca Zanna. Anyway, this is the second hour of Love, Guns and Freedom, K-Talks 1340 AM and on Guerrilla Media Network. Don't forget, you can also listen to the show in the archives, also on my website, www.lovegunsfreedom.com. Before we close the second hour, and we move to the final hour of the show, I would like to just freshen up another interesting news. This is from Arizona, our state of Arizona. There is a bill by a 5-1 vote, bill to reject federal gun control passes committee in Arizona. This is exactly happened this week, the last week, February the 18th, 2015. They say exactly in that day, today, in Arizona State Senate Committee approved a bill that would big steps to effectively block any new federal gun control measures in the state. The vote was 5-1. Interesting, very good. Now let's see. This was introduced by Senator Kelly Ward. Senate Bill 1330, SB 1330, would prohibit state agencies and employees from enforcing or even assisting in the enforcement of any new federal act, law, order, rule of regulation that restricts ownership of a personal firearm, firearm accessory or ammunition within Arizona. This draws a line in the sand and will make any new federal gun control scheme almost impossible to enforce in Arizona, said Michael Baldwin of the 10th Amendment Center. The feds might try to pass something new, but without help from local law enforcement, they are not going to be able to implement it in the state. This is very important. I agree. Don't get me wrong. The bill, maybe in my opinion, should be even more, in case a citizen get assaulted by a federal agent because they're trying to impose unconstitutional gun control laws, the law enforcement and the peace officer in Arizona should assist the citizen. But that's, a little bit my version. But, after all, let's start to look at the good things. There is an attempt from our state legislation that recognizes, first of all, more important, our rights, and is trying to do, first of all, do not comply with unconstitutional ruling or whatever you want to say, executive orders, or even unconstitutional laws coming from DC, District of Criminals. So this is very important. Now, let's read again. Continue. This draws a line. This is from the article, by the way, I'm reading it. That is exactly shall not be infringed. It's very good, shallnot.org, a very good website. And this draws a line in the sand that will make any new federal gun control almost impossible. Great. Now, SB 1330 is similar to a bill that was signed into law in Idaho last year. Excellent. I like to see more states, especially in the western part of America, standing up. I wish everywhere. And was passed by the Montana House this month. It was received support from Gun Owners of America, the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officer Association, and Arizona Citizen Defense League, the state's preeminent pro-gun lobby. Arizona Citizen Defense League, they are great. And I'm a life member, by the way. I'm proud of it. Anyway, this language puts the bill in harmony with the recently amended Article 2, Section 3 of the Arizona Constitution, also known as Proposition 122, which voters approved last fall to enshrine a process to refuse state cooperation with unconstitutional federal acts in the state constitution. This is great. Don't get me wrong. This is always something. We can write all the laws we want in the state, but at the end of the day, good men and good women must enforce them. Good men and good women must stand up and sometimes even risk their lives. So, but this is a good step. It's a very good step. I believe at least, we have a state that we recognize our state rights and the Bill of Rights, of course. Now, at the hearing, Rick Dalton of CSPOA, that is pretty much Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officer Association, a retired 20-year veteran of the Mesa Police Department, spoke in support of the bill. Good. He's a good peace officer, and we support good peace officers who believes and stand up and uphold the Constitution. And he said, our right to keep and bear arms is crucial and only one we can use to defend the rest, he said. This bill was erected a barrier against federal overreach. What can I say? I love to be in Arizona. I love here, and I like to support people like this retired police department veteran, 20-year veteran deputy, that he stands up for our rights together. These are the type of law enforcement I really support. And now, this article continues. Effective, based on James Madison's advice for states and individuals in the Federalist number 46, a refusal to cooperate with officers of the Union is an extremely effective method to bring down federal gun control measures because most enforcement actions rely on help, support, and leadership in the state. Thank you, God. That's all I can say. Thank you, God, for giving me the chance to live in this state. At least we are fighting back. At least we are standing up. At least, sometimes we have our differences with our legislators. Don't get me wrong. I had in the past my own little divergences with Senator Ward, but on this one, she's right on, and I'm very happy about it. We don't need to agree on everything, but whenever we found common ground with good things, we must support. I really believe we should support legislators. We're trying to do the right thing, okay? Now, there is more about this article. I will post it on the site. I really like the fact also that brings up the 1997 case, Prince against U.S., This is about from Sheriff Mack, where the Justice Scalia held and said the federal government may neither issue directives requiring the states to address particular problems, nor command the state's officers or those of their political subdivisions to administer or enforce a federal regulatory program. Great. So, stand up, Arizonans. Be thankful, but at the same time stand up. Let's support our legislators that support our rights, and let's support our peace officers and police and sheriffs that stand together for our rights. That's pretty much my message. Now, for the rest of the states, please Do your part. We got to do it together as union, as 50 states. Take it back, because we've been pretty much invaded. And the enemy, unfortunately, is already within the walls, okay? Now, you're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom. Don't go away, because the final hour is going to be about love and a little bit something different that I'd like to share with you. Don't go away. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna on Guerrilla Media Network.